Hello and much love to anyone that clicked on the video. For those that don't know me, my name is Lightning Hearts, and today's video is going to be a little different. I'm basically just going to sit down with y'all and talk to y'all about the Under Knife and Birth 2 as a whole, the system changes, how people perceive the game, the concerns that might arise from the game, things I like about it, and things that I'm really glad that French Bread addressed. So when we move on to that game, we're not gonna have a severe issue like how we had with Under Knife and Birth Clear, right? And it's gonna be one of these talk down videos. I'm gonna ramble a lot, so get your popcorn, get your drinks. If you're an Under Knife and Birth fan, this might be good content for y'all. But again, I'm just here basically sharing my overall thoughts and opinions with y'all, right? So I hope y'all enjoy. Under Knife and Birth 2, I think, is the game that everybody kind of wanted in terms of the environment. Like, we got rollback netcode, which is a fantastic thing. I can't stress that enough. With Under Knife and Birth Clear, excuse me. Well, Under Knife and Birth Clear, there was a lot of issues regarding that game's internal netcode stability. The lag-based netcode wasn't really good. People weren't able to really level up. And Under Knife and Birth 2, whether people want to argue this or not, wasn't really a beginner-friendly environment, right? Because there's only, I guess, the hardcore players or the people that really like this game that are dedicated to playing it, even if it has bad netcode. And if you're someone new that's actually trying to get into this fighting game, you're not gonna have the best or the most pleasant experience, right? So again, I guess indirectly or directly, Under Knife and Birth 2 rectifies that situation, or that whole problem, is that we're getting rollback, so people are more in line with playing the game, right? Like, they don't have to worry about good quality matches. And overall, I just think that's an amazing thing for the community, because one of the problems that we always had was, how do we attract people to our game, right? And with Under Knife and Birth 2, it gives people, I wouldn't even say excuses, it gives people more of a reason, or players more of a reason, to try out the game now than previously, because with the whole netcode and the whole uproar of a rollback. So I think that's fantastic, right? My main issues with Under Knife and Birth 2 initially was the fact that, okay, we got rollback, we got these new characters. All I wanted truly was DLC. And the main reason why I was screaming for DLC in my previous videos: leave shit the same. I don't give a fuck, because I already find it perfect anyway. Leave shit the same if you need to. Just give me something to look forward to. That's all I care about. Give me something to look forward to. Don't have this game release and then we're just stuck in the water with nothing to fucking do. Don't do that shit again. Was because that Under Knife and Birth throughout just the beginning of the game, like in terms of late, ST, and clear, we never had any sort of downloadable content to keep players into the game, because once players really got bored Under Knife and Birth, they will move on to other fighting games, and obviously as they should, because there's no real reason of retaining the players in terms of content. Then you can see how players are going to keep moving on and keep doing their other things and trying out new stuff, right? But with Under Knife and Birth 2, it seems like French Bread is really trying to nail the long-term content in terms of keeping, I guess, old players or new players alike coming back to the game. So again, really great that DLC was implemented. That was the one thing I wanted, and that's the one thing I got. So for me, Under Knife and Birth 2 is looking like a 10 out of 10 in my book, right? And another thing I want to add, in terms of release date with Tekken 8 and Under Knife and Birth 2, people were kind of saying that, oh, it's kind of a bad thing French Blood schedule this next to Tekken, because now Tekken 8 is going to overshadow Under Knife and Birth. Yeah, it probably is, but I'm not really too worried about it, because Under Knife in of itself has always had a niche audience and a small player base anyway. So for me, I'm only really excited because now the old players that left the game are going to come back to the game. So I'm probably gonna see, or people that are still active within the community are probably just gonna see old faces again, which is really cool. It's almost kind of like a reunion, right? Like you're gonna see players that you probably fought in ST. You're gonna see players that you probably fought in late if they decide to come back. So for me, I'm excited. And again, what I said previously, with the improved net code, new players are gonna have a better time of grinding out the game and overall just enjoying the game for what it is. Just a great interactive fighting game, right? And just to experience how the Vorpal mechanic is gonna work and how system changes is going to be, I think is going to be a really strong thing. What else can I really add, right? I think the biggest concern regarding Under Knife and Birth 2 is the system changes. I'm not going to lie. I read some of the notes in one of my videos, and when I initially read it, I was confused. I was like scratching my head on my neck, and I was like, okay, why are they changing a mechanic that is overall balanced and make it into something as heavy as, okay, if you get Celestial or whatever the new mechanic is called, you get 12 blocks, you get a bunch of meter back. If you have Vorpal and you spend meter, it only costs 75 percent or 75 meter. And on top of the fact of you wasting a Vorpal, you get the meter back. So a lot of players are speculating that it's going to be very meter heavy and damage, and you're going to be able to dump damage crazy. Depending on certain characters, they're going to run their game plan a lot. For me, I'm looking at Wagner, Gordo. Any character really with a plus on block special move is going to look kind of crazy in my eyes. Akatsuki too. Akatsuki is one of the characters I'm looking at in terms of his parry changes. I know a lot of players are not talking about him. Akatsuki basically has an easier way of getting in certain matches because now he has a parry that can fully go mid-screen. I think it's good for him, but again, like, his FF in of itself is a strong tool, so the fact that you're increasing the range, it might be kind of ridiculous. Again, with the meter build, seems spammable in my honest opinion, but again, safe to say I'm speculating, or I am speculating. What else? Freaking, the one change I think everybody can agree with is the A normal change, which is basically you get a counter hit off of A normals. Me personally, when I read that in the notes, I thought to myself, I was like, okay, if A normals can counter hit, and now the fact that A normals can destroy Bacchus webs, I think Vatisa's gems, and now Ozzy Chaos Spirit Beast or Animal. A lot of things with those changes just makes you question how these characters are going to be played, especially Chaos, because Chaos can't really frame trap with Ozzy. He can kind of leave himself safe with 236A into 623, which is basically the tail swipe, which has invincibility attached to the move. So now, on the fact that you can destroy Ozzy with A normals, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, well, are they gonna change the frame data regarding Ozzy? Like, how is it gonna work? Is he gonna come back quicker? Is it not gonna be like a taunt? Like, I don't know what's gonna happen with Chaos, but we're just gonna have to wait until the actual game comes out and for us to really lab the character, because now it's more of worries than actual excitement. I'm kind of worried in the sense of how Under Knife and Birth 2 is going to be played, because now with the meter build, it might promote, and people don't speak on this. I don't think people realize that we got a dodge mechanic too, which is the little swipe thing, or I'm going to show it on screen. Like, we have that now. So how is that gonna mean in terms of matchups? Like, are we gonna be able to go through EX specials? Are we gonna be able to get out of the corner quicker? Again, with the meter build, guard thrust, they changed the normals on guard thrust, so now guard thrust is probably going to be more utilized, which to me I don't think is a bad thing, because I thought in Under Knife and Birth Clear, guard thrust was a really underwhelming mechanic, because Guard thrust wasn't really viable unless you had Vorpal, because if you use guard thrust by itself, you got grid broken and you lost 100 meters. So I guess players didn't think of it as a true, like a good defensive option, because damn, if I'm losing the Vorpal cycle, the grid cycle, and I'm losing meter that could be used to basically continue my pressure or to close out a round if I need to, it's not really that viable in a sense, right? But yeah, there's a lot of concerns going with Under Knife and Birth 2. Are people still excited about it? Absolutely. But I think the way we're gonna go into Under Knife and Birth 2 is gonna be very okay. We're hyped, we got rollback, but let's see how this game is. And I haven't even talked about the newest characters that I added to the roster. Kaguya, Soryugi, and Kuro, I think if I pronounce his name right, Linne's brother. We don't know how they're going to be played in the game. I said in my Soryugi breakdown video that his character archetype is a rush down with armor moves, so he is probably going to deal with a lot of system changes within that game, because if I think he's really the only character in that game with armor moves, correct me if I'm wrong. So he is going to be a very interesting addition to the roster. Kaguya, again, when I made my breakdown video, she just seems like a more mid-screen. She's like a mid-screen version of Seth, basically. Like, she has projectiles, the little orb shit, which I call the grenade, can basically be decent Oki or good Oki, depending on how you're going to utilize them. And just overall, like, things that those characters might bring a different flair, but they might be top tier because you know they're gonna be developed in a way to where they can handle the system changes, if that makes sense, right? And the new moves that are added with the old characters, whether you like them or not, I feel that French Bread kind of went over the top with them in terms of Hyde's new projectile. I don't feel he needs that. A two-hitting projectile that can basically cover assault is like, well, damn, did he really need this? Because his orbital can basically do, he has a good projectile on top of a great projectile. Like, how does that work, right? So he's gonna be, and I don't know if that move, he's gonna be able to frame trap with that projectile. I don't know what's going on with French Bread in terms of development Under Knife and Birth 2, but as an OG player or someone that's been playing the game since the PS3 version late, it's looking very questionable. But again, with the stability of netcode, everybody's gonna come into this game fresh, whether you're a new player or old player. And that could be one of the things that I like about the game, right? Is the fact that the game is gonna be in a state where everybody has to adapt to it, which should be the case in terms of a sequel title. Like, even though we can still do combo routes and probably the same strategies and matchup strats is going to be the same, the fact that we still have to kind of work around the new mechanics, I think is going to be an interesting thing for the community. And I guess that's another point I can move on to the community, like just talking about the community alone. Everybody seems excited about the game. Everyone, again, has questions about the game, but I feel like people are excited regardless, because again, if you're not really grinding Under Knife and Birth clear, you're not gonna understand the struggles that we have to deal with in terms of finding players. Under Knife and Birth being a Discord fighting game, so us hopping into the online mode and trying to find matches organically or just by itself is going to be very hard. So hopefully Under Knife and Birth 2 can elevate us outside of a Discord fire. Like, we're going to actually have some player activity. So if you really want to grind the game, you have a chance to grind the game now, which is, again, a fantastic thing. I think that's one of the biggest how should I say, positives with this release is the fact that, okay, now we can actually introduce people to our fighting game. And going on towards the content side of Under Knife and Birth, right? Lid, I forgive me if you're making content for Under Knife and Birth and I haven't seen your channel yet. The only person I really seen is Lid, Helmet Guy. Again, forgive me because you know the algorithm for Under Night is not really that good. Shout out to Majin Obama for making the Kaguya breakdown, or at least the Kaguya impressions. That was really great. Like, I like the fact that more people are coming up front on making content with this game. I'm not gonna include myself because even though I am making content, I'm doing it based off of just love and passion and trying to have how should I say? I make content for Under Knife and Birth to basically attract players to our game and overall explain what this game is about, right? I am not I wouldn't even call myself I'm a high level or intermediate level player in terms of Under Knife and Birth. I'm not a professional level. You have to go to other people for that type of information, but I'm here generally to explain the basic knowledge of Under Night and things that you're gonna come to expect when playing this game. I think it's good to give people the concept of how this game should be played, so when they do play it, I can be the reference, or Lid or anybody else can be the reference on how should I say, on how to play, if that makes sense, right? Like, I want to make videos so when new players come into the scene, now they're not as confused, right? And I always preach about this. In terms of content, a lot of videos that's teaching you how to play the game are outdated, but there's still valuable information within it. It's just that it might not be good for a new players to watch like an old video saying like, okay, this is 4 years old, this is ST, and people don't know the real dynamic between ST and Clear. And I'm basically here to say, no, watch the old videos because they still have merit to them. They still talk about the current state of the game. They still have viable information to where you can learn off of it. So if you're watching this video or at this specific time step, please watch those old videos. They are still informative and they will still help you. I'm gonna make new tutorials or new videos explain the characters and the vocal traits and such, so y'all have a better understanding what these characters can do, right? But yeah, I think Under Knife and Birth 2, whether you like the new system changes or not, or the new mechanic changes, is gonna be a fantastic thing for new people to get into. Even though Tekken 8 is like a day after, I think a day before Under Knife and Birth releases, the game speaks for itself. People still love it. If they're old players or new players are still gonna like it. So don't stress so much on the release date. Just enjoy the game, have fun with it, and just push the game forward, man. I think people are starting to realize that we need to push this game forward and just overall have fun with it, you know? And I think that's the most important thing I want to leave with y'all in terms of this video. Like, Under Knife and Birth 2, we've been grinding it out and we've been supporting it for 10 years. Let's continue supporting it, man. If other people are interested in the game, bring them on the game and explain things, explain things in simple terms. Like, don't, especially to a new player, someone that's not really that really knows fighting game terminologies, it's better to explain things in simple terms and to show them rather than tell them. Don't say, oh, what's this situation? Don't say media or stuff like that. Just be like, yo, this character does this. This is what he specializes in. This is what you should do. Like, make it simple and just build off the concept. I think that's the best way of teaching players basically anything in life, right? This is what you need to do, or this is how you do it. And this is why we do it. Explain the why also, which I think is a very important thing. But this video is like, what, 19, about to be 20 minutes. I'm going to end it off here. I don't know if this is going to be enjoyable for y'all, but this is just my overall thoughts of how I feel about Under Knife and Birth. So if you like the video, make sure you leave a like. If you fuck with my content, considering subscribing. And yeah, just comment down below how y'all feel about Under Knife and Birth 2. But hopefully, y'all have an amazing day and take care and stay tuned to the next one. Peace out.